All right, it is time. All right, these things happen fast, including live slide editing in front of you. This is enabling high quality printing and web applications. I'm Craig Williams. This is Tanu Hawk. We work on ArcGIS mapping team, which handles mapping in ArcGIS Pro, mapping in ArcGIS Server, and of course print services, which we're going to be talking about today. So majority of this talk is going to be about the new print service we released first with the 10.6 release of ArcGIS Enterprise. And the major thing with this print service was about quality improvements. And I'll say right off the bat that the quality improvements are driven by the fact that we're using the drawing engine from ArcGIS Pro to drive these improvements in print services. So support for true color level transparency, that's something you'll see in ArcGIS Pro as well, but we now have that in the print service. The PDF is produced with proper vector features with transparency. If you've ever done a PDF export from ArcGIS Pro, you're used to that. And we've taken advantage of some other capabilities in ArcGIS Pro to improve layouts, things like handling some Unicode support issues we had with ArcMap-based print services, and so on. So this is available in ArcGIS Enterprise 10.6 and higher. So what's released to the public right now, 10.6 and 10.6.1. ArcGIS Enterprise 10.7 is going to be coming out shortly. We will say if you're using 10.6, not 10.6.1, if you're using 10.6 specifically, you'll want to install this patch, which resolves a memory leak. All right, so what's new? The big items, in addition to those improvements I talked for quality on the earlier slide, support for vector tile layers natively. Support for more smart mapping types. You may see these in your web applications more often. And support for things like the vector render of raster layers. In this case, we're using arrows to display raster data. Client APIs that work with the new features in the updated print service are JavaScript 4.6 and higher or 3.25 and higher, depending on if you're using the 4x or 3x versions right now. If you're using updated versions of Web App Builder, ArcGIS Online, etc., they're all taking advantage of these new capabilities right away. ArcGIS Online's print service has been using this for well over a year now already. All right, so now we'll jump into what are print services. We're talking about high quality printing on the web. Primarily when you talk about printing on the web, you're not really talking about printing directly to a printer, you're talking about producing a PDF, which you then may send to a printer. But you want to have that document printed in an exact scale. You want to leverage layouts that you can author, in this case ArcGIS Pro layouts. In some cases, people want to support really large format plotting. You want it obviously to display all the content of your web map. That includes the services, graphics, feature layers, and other things. Some people want to be able to modify the map during the print process. Swap out some local data for a feature service or something like that. And we get a lot of requests for extremely high DPI prints. You'll see this when you print to a 600 DPI printer with a 96 DPI raster image. It's not going to look that good. So people want high DPI support. So we've created a 3-tiered approach in ArcGIS to solve these needs. We're going to talk about these 3 tiers really quickly and then hand it over to Tanu for demonstrations. The first tier is what we call simple printing. This is just use the out-of-the-box geoprocessing service with ArcGIS Enterprise. This is primarily designed for small format prints, printing on 8.5 by 11 if you're in the US, A4 everywhere else. It's a synchronous service, and it supports token-based secure services. The next approach is what we call custom configuration. That's reusing that print service, but supplying your own templates and possibly making it asynchronous. You may want to make it asynchronous if you're doing large format, because large format prints often take a bit longer. But this is simply republishing the tool as a GP task on the server and doing that with your own templates that you're bringing to the equation. And then finally, the third tier, we call this advanced printing cases. And this allows you to leverage, you do this by leveraging ArcPyMP and essentially create a geoprocessing service using Python that has the same API as the out-of-the-box service. You can do whatever you want beyond that initial API call. That includes adding layers, removing layers, replacing layers, and things like that. And then the new capability we've added with tools published from Pro 2.3 to the 10.7 ArcGIS Enterprise is you can handle HTTPS security. Okay, so printing overview. Print services are powered by web maps. Essentially, your web application is going to make a web map, send that to the print service. That print service can be published to a standalone server. We get a lot of questions about this. Early days of ArcGIS Pro, there was a lot of talk about publishing only to a portal. That doesn't really make sense in this case. You can publish that geoprocessing service directly to a standalone ArcGIS server. That web map spec is consistent format produced by our APIs. It's just JSON. It's documented. And we like to note that the services in the web map must be accessible to the print service. So if you're printing a service that the print service can't see, you're not going to be able to render that on the server side. So keep that in mind with your print services. And with that, we'll turn it over to Tanu for demos and the nitty-gritty details.
All right. Thanks, Craig. All right. Let's jump into, is it too loud? I guess. Good?
Good.
All right. So we have been talking about printing from web application. And of course, web application runs on web browser. And web browsers have their print capability, right? So why cannot I use that option? Oh. Duh.
Oh.
There you go. Let's make it back. Oh, so this is my application. And my question was, why cannot we use that print option that's available on the web browser, right? The reason we cannot do that, as you are looking on the screen, is because that print option prints the web page. That includes the UI components and everything. It's not something you want to do. Instead, you want to print something like this, right? That's the traditional map that I want to print. I hand it over to my folks and everyone. And plus, we're going to talk about something a little later about something called reporting. I would like to include a reporting or table attached to my map. That's something brand new into Pro 2.3 and Server 10.7. All right. So the demo and everything, the whole discussion about today is all about how I can generate a map like that from a web application like this, right? So let's take a look at it, what we have out of the box available to me, right? So you are familiar with this map service. Oh, let me remove that guy for a while. So this is a map viewer available on ArcGIS Online or portal viewer, and this comes with its own print option. So if I click on print the map, it will actually generate a map with some surroundings. Give it a second. There you go, right? At least it doesn't have the UI component. It's better than what we have, right? But it's still not what we want to be. And in addition to that one, in this case, for example, I'm running a map service that is running off my laptop. In your case, it could be running off your organization. So I can add that map service to my map. And I would like to add that. Come on. Oh, gosh. See, does it want to run? Sorry about that. Ah. My server. All right. Let me restart my server in the meantime. I don't know why all of them are running just moments ago. I have to force kill them. Also, this is the part where you know how to, if something gets wrong with the server, delete all the SOC processes and start them up. My apologies about that one. We'll edit that from the video, I guess. And there is a Java process, and there is a RMID process. Kill them. There is a, I'll start them. All right, while it's being started, let me jump to another section of it. So what I was going to tell you that when I have a map service that's running within my organization, or in my case, running on my laptop, I was not able to print it. The reason I was not able to print it, it's because Craig mentioned that a little while, that here I am with my web application connected to my private map service, right? I'm good, I can communicate with that one, everything's fine. But by default, the print service that I was using with that map viewer, RGS Online map viewer, it was hosted somewhere in the cloud by RGS Online, which is outside of my firewall. So when I hit the print button, what it does, it packages every information and sends it over to the print service running on RGS Online cloud. It processes that and say, oh, there is a map service that I need to connect to, as Craig mentioned. Now it tries to connect, and it's within my firewall, and it cannot connect, right? It's private. So what can you do to solve that problem? To do that is I need to have my own print service running within my firewall. Okay. In this case, I have my own print service right here, and I am connected to my private map service. Everything is good from my web application. And of course, there are the base map that I was using that was coming from RGS Online, which is public. I was able to connect from my firewall. Now, when I'm ready to print, I click on the print button. Oh, it sends that information to the print service that is, again, within my network. It's happy to connect to my map service within my org. It's happy to connect to my map service or public base map service, right? And it processes everything, generates a PDF, and hands it back to the client. So that's why it's very important that, as Craig mentioned before, that you need to make sure that your print service have access to all the map services or feature services or any other services accessible to that print service. All right. I hope my map service, all the services are running by now. There you go. Let's try that. It's good. All right, yep. All right, so if I add it back again, will that work? Yep. So the transparency, so that was the part of my demo that I wanted to show you before, right? So I knew that it's gonna fail, so I'm gonna open the developers tool that comes with the browser to show you why it is failing, and that also helps you to debug when something goes wrong. So let me print that, click the print button, to wait. All right, stinking. Thinking too much. All right, fail. So if you look at that result, you see that it's actually making, if you look at the URL, it's actually making a call to an RGS Online hosted services. And the response that comes back, it says, failed to create service from my machine. Right? Obviously, it cannot access it. That's why it failed. So how can I solve that problem? I told you before. Now the question is, where can I find a print service? So if you install RGS Server or Enterprise on your machine, it actually comes with the print service. All you have to do is go to the manager, go to the utilities folders, and you will see a service called Printing Tools, which is by default stopped. So you have to start it, which I already did. And this is how it looks like when I go to the service editor, service directory or REST endpoint. So I see the same utility folders here. This is my Printing Tools, and it has 2 tasks in it. I'll talk about the task called get layout templates in for a little while, but this is the major, the print service actually, right? So I can copy URL. I can, in my organization, doesn't matter whether it's a portal or RGS Online, it's the same behavior. Go to the org and click the settings. Under the setting, you will see something called utility services tab. All you have to do is to paste that URL in there, and you will see the bunch of lists generated. Those are the templates that generated. I can modify some of them or all of them. I can say, all right, this is the PDF. I want a PDF output. I want to include the legend too. Updated that, save it. And once done, usually for some reason this saving takes a little while. All right, if I go back to my map, it's reloaded, I see the same map. Now the moment I click on that print, you see that one is actually have more option now. Previously it had only 2 options, right? Now it has more, print and all other options, and I see the A4 underscore PDF that I chose before. Now it's gonna use my print service. It's gonna make a request to the print service that is running off my laptop, in your case within your organization, and it's the process and return a PDF back in a while. As I said, I just restarted the machine, so it's cold. There's the issue. All right, now you can see that one. It generates a PDF that has that base map, it has the map service, and the legends are all drawn with the scale bars, everything. It's much better than what we had before, right? But it's still not where you want to go. So again, this is the time when you need to have our own print service, or as we call it, custom print service, right? So there are 2 reasons we need to have a print service. One is if we want to access our map services or any other services that is within our organization. We cannot use the ArcGIS Online hosted. On top of that one, I want to use a layout that will look like that, right? If I want to do that, I have to create my own custom print service. I cannot use the out-of-the-box print service. So how can I create custom print service? In order to do that, I will use ArcGIS Pro. Technically, you can do that with ArcMap, but we're encouraging everyone to move away from ArcMap-based print service to ArcGIS Pro-based print service, right? Okay, so I will use with the existing layout that I have been using in my desktop use case. The first thing I will do is that this is my map frame, this is a main map frame. As you see, I can have more than 1 map frame on my layout, but the main one where the content will be changed by the web maps request, this is the one that I need to do a couple of things. First of all, what I do, I set the map to none. I don't associate any map to that one. This is for the performance reason. If you publish a layout with some layers, it's going to make multiple requests to the same map service and feature service. So it's not something that you want to do. Number 2 is that the name of that map, the framework, has to be exactly the way it is here. All right. In a while, I will show you a help link that talks about this one. So once you have it, you're good with the map frame. Now I want to have my title that you're seeing on the top to be dynamic, so the user can put their own title. How can I do that? In order to do that, I will take advantage of something called dynamic text that's available from that ribbon. I click on the dynamic text. I see that under the layout section, I see metadata. I'll add that temporarily in a place. And see that on the right pane, on that element property page, I see title, tags, everything. I'll be interested in the title. So I'm copying the dynamic text from here. I don't need that element anymore. Removing it. Then I have to add back to my title element that should be shown on top. I'm saying what the empty string when there is no title set to the dynamic text, this is the value. I don't want any pre-string in front of that text. And I'm all good with this title now. So now my title is dynamic. Okay. Now let me go back to my help. So here's we have this doc on ArcGIS on our help. It's calling how you can actually create a print service from ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Pro. And in that doc, we talked about creating custom layouts. And here is the first bullet point. We talked about what the name of your web, the frame should be. And it is only needed when you have multiple map frame. If you have only 1 map frame, you don't have to worry about this one. Then we talked about all those dynamic text that supported, right? These are the 3 types of dynamic text that's supported with an XML tag or HTML tag. But there are some cases, these 3 is not enough. You need to have your own custom text elements. And how do you do that? I'm showing you in a second, but remember, here's a help, and the last bullet point, it talks about that one. So let me go back to Pro, and I will add a text element right here to show coordinates, for example. Right. So first thing first, I need to change the name, right? With the elements, the way I got to that again, I right-click on that the element itself, open the property page, it opens that element property page pane on the right, and I need to put a name to that one. When I put the name, it has to be embedded within a set of curly braces. You have to have that. because all the text elements in a layout always have a name. You cannot have a text or any element on the layout without a name. So this is how print service know this is a special kind of text elements. And the text of that one could be anything. I can say my coordinates, right? So I'm ready to use this one in my print service. One other thing is that, you see that there are some images on top, logos. Make sure they are coming from a special a location. Make sure those locations are also available or accessible to your server. Okay. So once I do that one, all I have to do is to right-click on that layout on the catalog pane, and then I can save that as a layout file. That's where it's changed from ArcMap. ArcMap, you used to save that, the MXD, and save in a folder. Now you need to save that in a folder, but as a PageX file. This is my template folder, and I saved that in that folder. I already did that up front. Now I'm ready to, so I have my templates ready, and the templates look like this, right? Now I come back, and I need to publish my print service. How do you do that? You go to the Geoprocessing tab, or you can access the Geoprocessing pane from this Analysis tab from the ribbon. You click on the tools, it brings up that Geoprocessing pane. That's where you can search for printing. If you cannot remember where to find that tool, you can always search for printing, and you see that Export Web Map shows up. You can right-click, you can locate the toolbox. It is in it, and you see there are two tools in that. And one thing you see that this tool in Pro is actually a script tool, right? Unlike ArcMap, which was like C++ written in C++, is a script tool. You can edit, and you can see that ArcPy code that powers this GP tool, a script tool. So I can double-click, open it, and all I have to do is to select the folder. And I see that the folder has only one template, so that's showing up here. In addition to that, there is a map-only options always available, and I can run it. It creates a GP result. I have to publish the GP result. Okay, but I'm not going to do that right now. The reason I'm not going to do that, it's because we need to have some way to add this reporting capability, right? So that requires me to write an ArcPy-based printing solution, right? Okay, to two steps. One is that I have to create a report, and I have to modify my script so that I can take advantage out of that report. So to create the report, which I already created here, all you have to do is to go to the Insert tab on the ribbon, and there is an option called New Report. Again, this is a brand new capability available in Pro 2.3. So once I have it, it's the same thing. I go to the Sharing tab on top, and I save that report as a report file to the same location that I saved my layout before, right? Now this comes to how can I create my ArcPy-based script tool. All right, that's just a little complicated. It's not complicated, it's easy, but it's just a multi-step process. First of all, let's find where this tool is actually resided. This is resided in this location. So I'll go to that location, right? And there is a toolbox. I find the server tool. I will paste it in a staging location. And then I'll find all the scripts. I know that it's called Export Web Map scripts. That is attached to those, that one of the tools inside it, and then get layout templates info, Python, oops. All right, now I have it. I'll come back to Pro in catalog window. I'm refreshing my staging. So this is my tool, I just copied it. I'll create a new one here. The reason I had to copy it because this one doesn't allow me to copy the tool from the system folder. I create a new one called printing. Then I copy this guy, paste it, copy this guy, paste it. Now, when I'm done with this copy pasting this tool, I have to repath. I need to make sure that this Python file is, the location script file is point to the right folder. So I'm going to that folder. I pick my Python tool, and I'm ready to use it. Now, since there is I have a report option, I can create a new parameter to this guy. Report template, string. I can add a value list. I'll copy my name of the tool. There's the name of my report, and I can use that as my default value. So now with this tool, which is the ArcPy-based scripting tool, I add an additional parameter, right? So you can take advantage of that on the client side, especially when you have a custom application. All right, this is ready to go. So I can right-click to look at that one. It looks like this exactly the same thing. I can pick that template folder. The templates are showing up. The report templates are showing up, and I'm ready to use this one. Okay, but I'm not going to publish it from here because we don't have any UI option to publish it to standalone server. In order to publish it to standalone server, if I had Portal, I could have done it there. In order to publish it, I will just simply run a Python script to do that. I'll run that script, and I will come back in a second to talk about how to what I did in my script. All right, let me go back to my web app in the meantime, and you see that I already created that map print service before. Right? This is my print service, and exactly the same. It has two tasks in it, right? And the export task and the get template task. And this is the URL. I'll copy the URL. Now I need to use that with my web app builder application. So I'm switching to web app builder application, and I will add a widget, a print widget. You're probably familiar with that one. You search for print, click that, and by default, you see that it actually reads that it uses the print service that you have already saved with your organization settings, which I did in my first step. I'm going to replace that with my new print service. Right. The default title, I can say the title again. Oops. That's my title. Those are the things that I'm filling it up. So I'm done. I'm ready to use this one. I can launch. I can save it. Maybe launch it. There you are. I'm looking at it. I'm zooming in. I have some selection tool. I can select some of the features here, right, and see that 16 of them are selected. Now they're selected. I can use my print option to print it. Okay. I choose my layout. See that one? This is the layout templates that I created. It's available here. The template title shows up. I can change my title a little bit. Dev 7 2019. I can use the PNG 8. And see the coordinates that I added that as additional one. Remember that one? I added an additional text element in my layout. This is showing up here. And the reason it's showing up here is because I published that with another task called get layout templates info. So web application builder print widget makes a call to that one and to find out whether there is any title, there is an extra custom text elements available or not. So let me capture the tool, a location of the center of my map, copy paste the coordinates, and I'm pasting it in here, right? Now I can hit a print. While it is doing that, let me go back to my script. So in the script, what I did when I published it, all I did, I executed both of my tools available in my toolbox, right? And then I called the create geoprocessing draft function, passing those two results is in an array. The rest of them is, you can do that just some names, nothing else. But most important things are this one. You have to specify, hey, I'm publishing to an RGS server, and then the server connection file. How do you create a server connection file? Let me go back to Pro. In the Insert tab, there's an option called Connection. You can say, I want to create a new RGS server connection. And there we are going to specify URL, which will ends with admin, and then provide the authentication. And most important thing is that you need to save the credential with your file. So the last option is very important. Make sure you choose that one. So once you save that file, that AGS file gets saved to the project itself. You can, and that's what I did here. I'm simply pointing to that file in this script. Once that's done, I'm staging it to an SD file, and finally I'm uploading it to server and publishing it as a map service. And you saw that when it's already done, I did not need any portal to publish it. Very good, right? So now if I go back, all right, I can see that it's showing up, right? The titles are updated. I'm looking at all the selections one, and if you zoom in, I see that one. The coordinates are being shown up here. Everything's all nice, but it's a PNG file which does not support more than one pages, so I don't see the report here. So in order to see the report, I just switch to PDF, right? And I can click a print button, and you'll be processing that. Let me show you the script that I did in the meantime. So the script, once I got that script copied from that system location, this is a few lines of code that I put into my script. Okay, it's basically we're saying that, okay, import that report file, which is RPTX file. You saw that I saved it out from Pro. I imported it. I set the reference to one of the layers in that map, and simply then export it out to PDF. And finally, attach that PDF to my other PDF that has only maps. Okay? All right, so this is a few lines of code, not too big, no deal. And in the other part of that code where I'm saying, hey, export layout, I'm saying, okay, if it is a PDF one, then also export the report, and that's what it imports it or converts the report to PDF and attach that PDF to the other map. And then it's done. So I can open it. Look at that, the same map you saw before, updated titles, the coordinates, and if I scroll down, you'll see that now it's also showing the reports in the second page. All right. And the report has this option that if you have too many features, it actually overflows and puts that to the next page. All right. With that, back to you, Craig.
All right, we're actually out of time.
Yep.
So rather than take questions in the open while we pack up, if you have questions, just come on up and ask us. Thanks.